have the name Yahweh. He does put the name Yahshua above all names because that means Yahweh is salvation. He's coming as salvation. So I wanted to make that clear also. So, but, I wanted to point that out because, that's part of the reason why people come up with these ideas. Well, he's got many names. Because they think El Shaddai is one of the names, and they think Jehovah is a name. Right. And even when you look in your dictionary and it says, it's Tetragrammaton Yahweh or Jehovah, right. And as if you have a choice. I'm sorry, you do not have a choice between Yahweh and Jehovah. That's right. Yahweh is correct, Jehovah is incorrect. That's right. And one of the reasons I know that it's incorrect is because I did look in the dictionary and I did read the history of the J, and I saw that there was no J at that time when the angel from heaven came and appeared and told Miriam, because that was her name at the time, told her what she had to name that child. She didn't have a choice about the name of that child because that name was going to be very significant for salvation. So, I came here and I found out these things. These pieces were being put together and I'm like, wow, this is important. But I'll have you know, the very first time that I came and attended one of these sessions, I left still thinking Jesus Christ because that was not for me at the time. I didn't understand anything about the name in the very first session. What I went through the very first session had to do with baptism. Because at that point in my life, I had the question in my mind as to whether or not to baptize my child. So water baptism at that time was something I was wondering about. And by tradition, I'll put it that way, the Roman Catholics, they will baptize their children when they're babies. Now, at that point in my life, I no longer considered myself to be Roman Catholic. I had considered myself to be a born-again Christian. I had married a Lutheran, and we had gone to Episcopalian to have that marriage performed. And we were searching for a church and attending various ceremonies at the various churches, trying to determine which group to join up with. And my feeling was, well, this place was too small, this one was too big, they were too friendly there. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a private person. You're coming up on me, And this other place, it was too big and too, I had my ideas about what I thought I was going to find. But when I came here, I didn't know what I had found, and I was willing to walk away from it. But Yahweh had mercy on my soul and forced me through ways that only He can do. As I was telling someone, jealousy, but forced me to have another opportunity to come here and look at these things a little deeper. So we really do appreciate when returning visitors come because we know that Yahweh has sparked their interest and they've heard that still small voice. And we encourage them to continue to do the investigation that they need in order to be sure that they are discerning between truth and lies. Because as we say, any speaker that gets up here, they too are a student. They too are learning about this divine vision and this divine revelation that came direct from Yahweh to the founder of this school. And they are, hopefully, it is on their heart and mind to do the best they can do, the best that they can do in terms of conveying exactly what was given. And we do have, references that have been handed down to us in terms of Dr. Kinley providing us with what's referred to as the Elohim textbooks, the pamphlets, and transcripts of his lectures, and even some video recordings of those things. So we do have that. Plus, we have had ministers who were raised up under him and who held to the truth. But you do have those who don't, either because of their own selfish, as it was with the Pharisees and Sadducees, their own ideas and trying to promote those. And therefore, when the truth comes along, they deny it. So that was something that I wanted to kind of mention. And then, let's see. Oh, the other thing that kind of came to mind when he was going through the name and he was kind of talking about the story about Pharaoh and the plagues. you know, the term conditional surrender. You know, conditional surrender versus complete surrender. Because conditional surrender, well, you know, well, we will surrender under these conditions, you know. And that's basically, well, if you allow, like you said, you know, you can't take the cattle, you can't take the children, and you can't take the women. Only the men can go. You know, okay, the adults, the men and the women can go, but the children can't go and the cattle can't go. You know, he kept changing the conditions under which he thought he had control as to whether or not they were going to go. But Yahweh had already determined that he was going to have them all come out. And he already determined that he was going to devastate this land and that Pharaoh was going to be used for the purposes of bringing glory unto him, unto Yahweh, not Pharaoh, mind you. So when he was going through this story, I'll call it that for the moment, about the events back here in the land of Egypt with regard to what they had to do to exit out of this land of darkness, he was showing us about the death, the burial, and the resurrection. He was telling us about the blood, the water, and the spirit. He was showing us that Yahweh is operating by a pattern or plan of salvation. Now, in order for us to kind of see it a little bit more clearly, eventually when Moses comes out here into the wilderness of Sinai, he's told to after he's seen the vision up here in the mount, he's told to build the tabernacle exactly like he saw in the mount. But the tabernacle that was given to him in the mount was actually to explain the true tabernacle, which is Elohim, the archetype original pattern of the universe. And so when we're talking about this tabernacle here and giving you information about this, it's basically because eventually we're going to give you correlations, as we've given you here, to show you that Yahweh, our Elohim, he is real. And he exists, and he is salvation. So coming here to this chart, which is referred to as man made in the image of Elohim by the pattern of the tabernacle, I'd like to go ahead and just kind of give an overview first and then go into a few specific verses. We have here this tabernacle that consists of 3 compartments. There's the most holy place compartment, which was 15 feet by 15 feet. Then the holy place, which was by 15 by 30 feet. And then the court roundabout. Now, the distance from the gate to the back of the tabernacle was 150 feet. And then from one side to the other was 75 feet. Okay? Now, these numbers don't mean anything to you at this point. But eventually, you're going to see that Yahweh, he is operating everything, even to including significance regarding the size of this tabernacle. Now, here in the most holy place, there's this, and I'm gonna actually want Exodus, the 25th chapter. Go ahead and go with the first verse and read on down to 9.
Exodus 25 and 1. King James or Holy Name?
I want the true name.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Exodus 25 and 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they may bring me an offering. Of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Now, this is after they've exited out of Egypt, and they're out here in the wilderness of Sinai. And so Yahweh is talking to Moses at this point, telling him these things. Okay, so go ahead.
3. And this is the offering which ye shall take of them, gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet, and fine linen and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and badger skins, and the shittim wood, oil for the light, spices for anointing oil, and for sweet incense, onyx stones, and stones to be set in the ephod, and in the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them.
Now, that's important. is going to dwell among them. Now we're looking at this point in time in what's referred to as the Old Testament portion of the Bible, okay? And there's this covenant that Yahweh makes with the children of Israel, and he's going to dwell among the children of Israel, and they have to have this tabernacle set up, because guess what? These children of Israel, although they said everything that Yahweh says will do, they don't. And, and because they don't, well, in order for them not to get killed, they're going to have to offer up these sacrifices. So that's, when he's dwelling among them, they're going to be offering up these sacrifices unto Yahweh. Continue, please.
Exodus 12 and 8. I'll just run that again. And let them make me a sanctuary.
You're at 25. You're in Exodus 25. And
Exodus
8.
25 and 8.
Yes.
And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it.
Okay. Now, hold your finger there and go over to the 40th verse of the 25th chapter there, because that also gives you proof that it was in the mount that Moses saw these things. Go ahead, please.
Exodus 25 and 40. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount.
Now, there's other verses in Exodus. I think the 26th chapter, there's another one. I don't remember the verse number. It might be 27, but you don't need to get it. But there's a few other verses that also say exactly, or as it was shown thee in the mount.
Right.
Basically, letting you know that this information of how this was to be built, these were divine specifications. And so Yahweh is not going to let it be made any other way except exactly the way that it was shown in the mount, because it's to reflect him. So that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you that there's significance to what's going on here with regard to how this is built. This is a portion of the Bible that I would have had no interest at all in reading, because they're talking about the details of something that I'm thinking that's pretty old, and knobs and the curtains, this length, that and length. But at some point, you come here and eventually you go like, wow, I wonder what he means by this, and you start reading it and thinking about it. So here you got this most holy place is divided from the holy place by this blue, purple, and scarlet veil. And there's angels embroidered on that. And then you have the holy place is divided from the court round about, and there's also blue, purple, scarlet veil. Now, there's a door here. This door is 3 feet wide. This gate down here is 30 feet wide. Now, there is a scripture where it says, wide is the gate, and many enter therein. And it talks about that destruction that, that it leads to. But, narrow is the way. And so there's references made that we didn't know what they were talking about, because we didn't know what was in the Old Testament or what it was referring to. But, once you come here, you start to see, wow, that's what was going on. So that's really, because when they said they took away the key of knowledge, this is what they took away, this understanding with regard to what Yahweh Elohim was doing by this tabernacle pattern. Now, okay, so there's 9 major vessels in this tabernacle. Now, these 9 major vessels, there's 9 major divine attributes to Yahweh. And when he came into that set, shape, and form of this superincorporeal man, which, is seen when he comes and appears to the prophets in his superincorporeal form, okay? He's not appearing with flesh, all right? And he's Yahweh, and he's not changing. He's got those divine attributes in a set order. Now, over here, I'm going to have to walk over to the green chart very slowly for the camera's sake. But over here on the green chart, we've got a depiction of Yahweh Elohim showing those divine attributes, that intelligence crowns wisdom and knowledge. Beauty crowns love and justice. Foundation crowns power and strength. Now, I didn't use the word divine in front of each one of those attributes, but that's what they are. Divine intelligence, divine wisdom, divine knowledge, divine beauty, divine love, divine justice, divine foundation, divine power, divine strength. Now, that order right there, okay, there's a reason for that, but that's Yahweh Elohim, okay, in set, shape, and form. Now, when you're looking at this tabernacle pattern, which is right next to it, right here, okay? I told you about the most holy place, and the court round about. We want you to understand that Yahweh Elohim is one spirit, okay? He has 3 states of existence. In his highest state, which is his pure spirit state, man cannot come to understand him. He's not. There's no way. He's infinite. We have finite minds, so that's part of the reason why, okay? But he has that other state of existence, Elohim, where I said he comes and he appears and he speaks to his prophets and tells them, in visions and dreams, what it is that he wants them to know, okay? And then he also has the state where he comes into the flesh as Yahshua the Messiah. He came in the flesh. And as the Holy Spirit, he'll come into you, okay? So those 3 states of existence. We say that he has 2 manifestations because you cannot see Yahweh, the Father. And that's what it says in John 1:18, okay? No man has seen the Father at any time, okay? The Son has to declare the Father unto you. And in Exodus, the 24th chapter, verse 9 and 10, if you were to look at the king, this is one reason why we're stressing that you look at the Holy Name Bible version and a King James Version Bible to compare some of these verses, because when you go to Exodus, the 24th chapter, verse 9 and 10, and you're reading directly out of King James, it says, it's telling me about 74 people saw God. When you look at John 1:18 in the King James, it's saying nobody saw God. Well, that Bible is all contradictory. I'm not going to believe that. Some people take that attitude over something like that. I mean, they just give it all up. But what they don't understand is, again, mistranslations, interpolations. All that stuff has happened. You have to do some research. You really do have to do some research. But he will show you the way. Because he wants you to discern.
Yes, he does.
He wants you to discern between the father of lies and him, the mystery of righteousness, okay? He wants you to have that ability.
That's right.
So that's what this school, is going to help you to understand. So, okay, so going back to this explanation about, I was showing you about the 9 major attributes and then the fact that there's 9 vessels, but I was showing that unity part because right here, this one right here, this is I'm going to ask for some verses. Get ready. Okay, I'm reading them out. Get your pens and paper. Exodus 25 and 21. Deuteronomy 10 and 2 and 5. For now, just hold those though. Okay, so this right here, this is referred to as the Ark of the Covenant. Now, when Moses went up to the mount, at some point, he was given some tables of stone and he was told to put them in the Ark of the Covenant, but the Ark of the Covenant had not been built yet. And the first time he came down with those tables of stone, well, he waxed hot when he saw that the children of Israel, they'd already disobeyed. They were already worshiping a golden calf and calling it the God, or the Elohim that brought them up out of Egypt. And what they saw when they went on the mount and the plateau was not a bull with 4 hoofs and a tail and horns. Yet that's what they built and that's what they were calling, that the God giving credit to that as being the one that brought them up out of Egypt. Okay? So he threw down those tables of stone, and he had to, hew out some more from the base of the mount and take them up. And then Yahweh wrote again, and those tables of stone ended up being placed here in the ark, because by that time it was built. So go ahead and read the Exodus 25 and 21.
Exodus 25 and 21. And thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that thou shalt give thee.
Okay, so the testimony that Yahweh was going to give him, he had to put it in there. Okay, go ahead. Next-
22. And
No,
there,
next scripture.
Deuteronomy 10:2. And I will write upon the tables the words that were in the first tables which thou breakest, and thou shalt put them in the ark. And I made an ark of shittim wood, and hewed 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and went up into the mount, having the 2 tables in mine hand. And he wrote on the tables, according to the first writing, the 10 commandments, which Yahweh spake unto you in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, in the day of the assembly. And Yahweh gave them unto me. And I turned myself and came down from the mount, and put the tables in the ark which I had made. And there they be, as Yahweh commanded me.
Okay, so that's what's in there, okay? Now, there's a reason why, I'm pointing this out to you, but you won't know about it till probably another speaker in another lecture. But that's one of the things I want you to know that's in there. This Ark of the Covenant is described with regard to these 2 archangels that the way it's stated in the Bible, it sounds like they're looking at each other, but they're not looking at each other. Yahweh Elohim, on the Day of Atonement, that Shekinah is going to flash, and that's who they're giving glory to, okay? But this is all one beaten work gold, okay? And although it doesn't show it depicted here, there was actually rings on the corners, and then there were staves that were not to be removed. And so when the children of Israel, when they had to travel out here and tear down the tabernacle, the ones who were assigned, they didn't gaze upon it. It was covered, and they would carry it out by these staves. They would not touch that ark. And Yahweh had basically declared they were not to touch the ark, and if they did, they would die. And there is a story of where someone did touch it and did die. And the way that this is structured, like I said, it's one beaten work, but it did have like a lid. I'll put it that way. The way it was described to me was kind of like a hope chest, and that's how they were able to put the things inside that we're talking about at this point. So that's the 3 in 1, okay, that we're referring to. And right now I'm having a little difficulty the way we break it down. Danielle, is it the 2 archangels on the ark proper, or the mercy seat, as far as the 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
The ark, the mercy seat, and the 2 angels.
Thank you. Okay, the ark, the mercy seat, and then the archangels. Okay, so that's what we're referring to. Is that because I want the scripture though? But because it's scripturally. Yeah, if you can find that for me, then we'll get that. But I'll come back to that. Okay, so then coming through the veil into the holy place, there's 3 vessels in there, and this first vessel that I'm going to point to here, and I can move over to the other chart because it's a little bigger depiction, so I'm going to do that. This vessel right here is referred to as the altar of incense, and it has horns on the corners, okay? And it's referred to as a 5-sided structure in that the back of it was open, and that's where they would place the garments of beauty and glory that the high priest was to wear on the Day of Atonement when he would go in here on that trip that he would go in there. So that's what we're pointing out there. And the reason why we're saying the 5 is also important because there's a correlation with regard to your human body. Now, the horns, there's a correlation also with regard to your human body, so I'm pointing that out. And the fact that there's blood on there, this reason that it's called an altar of incense is that Yahweh had them burn a special mixture that was known only to the high priest, and it was 4 main ingredients, and so that there would be a sweet-smelling savor unto him, because these sacrifices did not please Yahweh. It was, even though he required it of them, that it was for the purpose of the true sacrifice that would be pleasing unto him, which is his son, Yahshua Messiah. So that was a stench to him, So this was a sweet-smelling savor. And this is also where they would do the prayers. And so you see here one of the priests, and then you see an angel. Later on, there's a story with regard to Zechariah that he was doing his services And this was shortly before the time of Yahshua Messiah. And then when an angel appeared unto him there while he was doing his services, that told him that his wife, who was elderly, was going to have a child, and he didn't believe it, and he told it that he was to name that child John, and he ended up being struck dumb. So this illustration, sometimes we use that as that, in reference to that. But coming down here to this vessel right here, this is a 7-branch golden lampstand. Sometimes it's referred to as a candlestick, but there's no wax involved. And we want to bring to your attention about the fact that this 4th prong, which is what it's standing on, that's where they would pour the oil into. And then the way that it was lit is they would actually take a hot coal from here, and they would light it with that. And this lampstand provided light between certain hours. And there's a reason for that too, and there's a correlation with regard to how Yahshua Messiah fulfills that. So that's one thing that is important too. Now, if you think about it, you would not need light, an artificial light, I'll call it that, during the time when the sun is available, sunlight is available. And this tabernacle faced to the east, so the sun would come in, the light would come in. So this was lit at 3 p.m. and it was extinguished at 9 a.m. So then you have here this table of shewbread. Now, if you come up here close, you'll see that there's actually what's referred to as a crown when they describe it. There's a double crown, and it's like a hand's breadth between the two of them. And there's 2 rows of the shewbread, and there's 12 lobes. And there's a correlation with regard to your body also with regard to that. There's correlations with all of these things with regard to your body, because Yahweh made man in the image of himself by this tabernacle pattern, okay? To show you that he is, he is the creator. Everything is reflective of him. So, okay, so we've described 6 of them so far, and now we're coming through the door for the other 3. You have here the cup of holy anointing oil. The high priest, at the age of 30, and we're giving you that information because Yahshua, at the age of 30, he fulfills that. But the high priest, he was here at the door, and he was anointed with the holy anointing oil. And that would provide a quickening, so that when he did perform the functions that were necessary here, according to that law, he did it without error, because if he did it with error, he would die. There were those who tried to do something, tried to offer up strange incense, and they were struck dead, and they had to be pulled out with flesh hooks. So anyways, then you have here this brazen laver. Now, there's a distinction between what's in the court roundabout and the holy place with regard to these vessels, and that we were talking about gold here. This was gold, this was gold, this was gold. But this is a brazen laver, and this is a brazen altar. The brazen laver contained water. It also had ability at the bottom for water, because this is a 2-fold operation, and we like to point that out to you, in that they would immerse or wash the sacrifices in there, so it would be like a bloody water. That's why you see this bloodiness here. But then there was also clean water that was used to clean that the priests had to use to clean themselves. Okay, now here with the altar of sin sacrifice, there's 4 horns, and we point that out because, and you'll see here they're painted red because blood had to be placed on those horns. As a matter of fact, the sinner had to bring the sacrifice, and he would be the one who would have to, he'd have to be the one who Leviticus, the 1st chapter, please. Just 1 and 9. Just go ahead and read that. I think it's 1 and 9. Okay, and Hebrews 9 and 5. So get Hebrews 9 and 5 also. I want Leviticus 1st chapter first.
Leviticus 1 and 1. And Yahweh called unto Moses. And Yahweh called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto Yahweh, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd and of the flock.
Okay, now continue to find the one, I think it's the 9th verse, where it's talking about the sinner having to do it, because I think it's 9. Is it? Go to
Levit-
5. Go to 5, she said.
Leviticus 1 and 5. And he shall kill the bullock
Yes.
before Yahweh, and the priest and Aaron's sons shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Okay. I always suggest that you read it yourself, but the sinner is the one who kills it, but then the priest is the one who's going to go ahead and put the blood on that altar, okay? And notice how this altar is made. There's a description in the Bible with regard to its dimensions, okay? And there's a significance to that too. And I won't go into that at this point. I've got to brush up on my memory with regard to the dimensions in order to bring out the correlation. But I want you to notice that it has a grate work on it, and that they would have to shake the ashes, and then the ashes would have to be taken out of the tabernacle and disposed of that way. Now, these things that I've mentioned to you, like I said, I'm mentioning to you these things because there are correlations with regard to the body. But I also wanted to get to some other scriptures with regard to what's in this Ark of the Covenant. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Exodus, the 16th chapter, please, the 15th verse.
You want Hebrews 9 and 5?
Yeah, not yet. I'm going to get to that.
You want the Ark of the Covenant in its 3 pieces?
I want Exodus, the 16th chapter, verse 15, and then you're going to go to 31 through 35. You can hold Hebrews 9.
Exodus 16, 15, 31 through 35.
Yep, that's what I want.
Okay. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, "It is manna," for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, "This is the bread which Yahweh hath given you to eat." 31. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, "This is the thing which Yahweh commandeth. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt." And Moses said unto Aaron, "Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before Yahweh to be kept for your generations." And Yahweh commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan.
Okay, now, let's see. I do want some other scriptures related to the manna. So I want John 6, 49 and 58, and Revelation 2 and 17. And then I'm also going to want Exodus 7 and 12, and Numbers 17 and 10. And then the last one I want will be Hebrews, the 9th chapter, starting at the 4th verse. So you can go ahead and get John 6:49 when you're available. So I was kind of giving you what was placed in this Ark of the Covenant. With regard to what we mentioned so far, we mentioned that the testimony, okay, was in there. That was the tables of stone, okay, and then we're letting you know that the pot of manna that's mentioned was in there, and then there's also another item that was also placed there before Yahweh. But first, we're going to go into a little bit about the manna.
John 6 and 49, 48, 49. I'm going to start at 48. I am the bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead.
Okay, is that a red letter edition Bible?
Yeah,
So is that written in red?
yeah.
So that means Yahshua Messiah is saying, "I am the bread of life." Now,
Right.
why would he say that? Well, we're showing you. Go ahead.
Down to 58. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever.
Okay. And Revelation 2 and 17.
Revelation 2 and 17. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it.
So that's referring to, the true bread of life, Yahshua. He's the one that overcame. He overcame death, hell, and the grave. And he's the one who's going to give you that name, Yahshua. Okay, you're going to know him, and you're going to really get to understand who he is. Go ahead and get now the Exodus 7 and 12. Actually, start 7 and 1, I think. I want 7 and 1, I believe, because this is going to tell the story. I believe it starts at 1.
7 and 1, Exodus.
Yeah.
And Yahweh said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies, and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I stretch forth my hand upon Egypt.
Now, when are they going to know? After Yahweh stretches forth his hand, after the destruction. They're going to say, wow, that was Yahweh. Go ahead.
And bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as Yahweh commanded them. So did they. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old.
So Aaron was the older brother. Okay, go ahead.
When they spake unto Pharaoh. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, Show a miracle for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, Take thy rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent.
Okay, make serpent.
And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers. Now the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments.
Jamies and Jambries, they went ahead and they cast down their rods, which became serpents. But go ahead. What happened?
For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. Keep
What
going.
verse is that? I just want
That's
you to go
13.
through. Okay, that's fine. Now go ahead and go to Numbers 17 and 10.
No, number
I want you to, this one I also need you to start at 17 and 1, actually, even though I've got 10 written down. I want you 17 and 1.
Numbers 17 and 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and take of every one of them a rod according to the house of their fathers.
I'm going to be interrupting you, because I'm going to walk over here to the depiction of the tents for the children of Israel. There's 12 of them, okay? So there's 12 rods. Now, there's a reason why this happened, okay? Go ahead.
Speak, 17 and 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and take of every one of them a rod according to the house of their fathers. Of all their princes, according to the house of their fathers, 12 rods.
12 rods, go ahead.
Write thou every man's name upon his rod.
Okay?
And thou shalt write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi.
So he was of the house of Levi, so his name was on there. Okay, go ahead.
For one rod shall be for the head of the house of their fathers. And thou shalt lay them up in the tabernacle of the congregation before the testimony, where I will meet with you. And it shall come to pass that the man's rod, whom I shall choose, shall blossom. And I will make to cease from me the murmurings of the children of Israel.
Now, I'm going to interrupt you, because that's what was happening out here in the wilderness of Sinai. You know, Yahweh had already said, that Moses was going to be unto Pharaoh like a god, and Aaron was going to be like a prophet. He'd already determined the roles that they were to play and what he was going to have occur. Now these children of Israel, they come out here, and now there's a dispute as to who's in charge and who gets to say what and what gets to happen. And Yahweh is the one who put these people in charge of what was going on. Okay? And he's the one who's giving directions. Okay, Moses, this is what I want to have happen. Or Moses, I want you to tell Aaron to do such and such. So the real directions were coming from Yahweh. So when these people are murmuring, they're not murmuring against Moses and against Aaron. They're murmuring against Yahweh. Now Yahweh is going to make it very clear that he's in charge by showing something, and this is what he's showing. He's showing that they went ahead and had, okay, this is what I want you to do, and he went ahead and had those 12, rods and inscribed so that everybody knew whose rod it was, and the rod that he chose, that was the rod that was the one that he, continue reading.